Hi there. So I want to share three experiences I've had. Two with paranormal ghosts and a third with UFOs. So the first one, it was 1 a.m. in the house. I was in there alone with my dog and I was asleep in bed. And all of a sudden I started to come round and I heard a noise. And at first I thought, oh, perhaps it's an aeroplane going over. But as I slowly came around, I soon realised it was the kettle boiling, and I heard the click and the water bubbling, so I knew for sure it was the kettle had just boiled. So I was laid in bed, and I was too terrified to move. Let's be honest. And luckily, it was in the middle of summer, and here in Northern England, at this time of year, we don't get any true night. It gets dark after 10 p.m., and then it starts to get light again at 3 a.m. So I didn't have long to wait. I was just laid in bed, scared stiff, until it got to about 3:30, and the it started to get light. At which point I thought, okay, it's light enough outside now where I'll dare go downstairs and check for myself to make sure I wasn't dreaming. And I put my hands on the kettle, and sure enough, it was lukewarm. So I know for a fact it had boiled. Now, bearing in mind, I don't really drink hot drinks. I'd not touched that kettle. Perhaps a week, and there's nobody else in the house. So that kettle, for whatever reason, boiled on its own. It never happened before or since. Now, I can't say for sure it was some sort of ghostly um, apparition that's done anything, but either way, I have no idea what happened, and the kettle definitely boiled on its own. The second experience is in this house, there's a cellar which has a door which leads out onto the backyard, and there's a few people walking about, so it's not totally isolated. But anyway, I have a portable Bose speaker, and I was just playing Metallica as I was working out down there, and I put the phone down, and all of a sudden the volume just went zoom, as loud as it would go. I thought, oh, that was weird. So I went over and I turned it back down, and then I went back away to my workout, and the volume just went straight up to the top again. But that's weird. So I did it again. Went back to my workout. The same happened again. This time I was thinking, this is strange, but I just thought perhaps it's something going on with the phone. So I walked over and I turned the volume back down, and this time I stood and watched it for like 30 seconds, and it didn't go up. I thought, oh, okay, that's fine. So I went back to my workout, and as soon as I went back to it, the volume just went straight back up. I did this another couple of times, and each time the same thing happened. So now I'm getting really freaked out. So I go over to it and I turn the volume down. And this time it says, right, I'm going to watch this for like 2.5 minutes. And I just stood there watching, watching, watching. Minutes are passing, and the volume doesn't budge. It stays low. And I thought, oh, okay. So now I finally again go back to my workout. As soon as I turn away and go back to it, the volume just goes straight back up to the top. So now I'm under no illusions. Whenever I'm watching it, the volume doesn't budge. Only when I turn away does then the volume go right up. So obviously I can't say for sure, but everyone I've told says that's incredibly weird. That seemed like that was by design. Someone was controlling the volume and waiting for me to turn away before it moved up. Now, because it was light outside, there was a few people walking about, and I had the door open. I kind of wasn't that scared, but by the last time it did it, I started to feel this is really, really creeping me out now. So yeah, I closed the door and I just made a quick exit straight back upstairs, and that was it. But as I said, now I've worked out plenty of times down there in the basement, exactly the same, and it's not happened since. So again, I can't say for sure what it was, but I'm sure you agree that sounds incredibly spooky. And the third experience, which was with a UFO, was incredibly creepy. So this was around October, so it gets dark much earlier, and the nights are much darker. Now there was boxing on in Las Vegas, and they are 8 hours behind us. So I stayed up till maybe 4 a.m. to watch it, which is the equivalent time over here in the UK. And again, I went to just let the dog out about 3:45, just to run around in the yard and have a pee. And I just looked up to my right, and above some trees, like a wood, which is perhaps 800 meters, maybe a kilometer away, I noticed uh, a light just above the trees, well, quite high up above the trees, and it resembled how you would say a star looks, with like the twinkling look, but it was quite clear. It was obviously much closer, just above the trees. And I watched it, and it didn't budge. And I thought, well, could it be one of the? Is it a Chinese lantern? Well, no, because I've seen them, and you can see the flame, and you watch them move off. This was just stationary. Or could it be a drone? I'm like, no, because 10 minutes later, it's still just in the same position. There's no sound, there's nothing. It's just there. It's like twinkling. I have some binoculars, what I use for bird watching, and I looked at that, and all I could see, literally, it just looked like a ball, a twinkling ball, like a star. Exactly the same as a star, but obviously I knew it was much closer. And after about 15, 20 minutes, I started getting really creeped out by it. And slowly but surely, it just started moving away from me incredibly slowly, moving, until I can't be sure if it disappeared behind the clouds, if a cloud came, or it just whatever. But it disappeared, and I couldn't see it anymore. And that was it. It had gone, and I never saw it again. Now, some people suggested that it was the International Space Station, but I looked into that, and that was absolutely impossible because, again, what that did, that was constantly moving. It was orbiting the Earth, and it was going round in an arch, and it would have been going that way. This was just above the trees, stationary, before it started moving slowly back. So that was impossible. It couldn't have been that. And yeah, I've no idea to this day what it was. I'm absolutely clueless. But it just makes me wonder, doesn't it? I mean, because in the news at the moment, there's so much going on with the UFOs. I can't say what it was, but it makes me feel incredibly vulnerable because I thought at that point it's 4:30 in the morning now, and I'm stood out on my front porch. Now this could just come over and start beaming me up, literally beaming me up at like a meter per second, and I would just be getting lifted off the earth, and there's absolutely nothing I could do about it because I couldn't get phone the police or could maybe get an helicopter or bring anything. It's clueless. I couldn't do anything. So the sheer fact that you could just be lifted off the earth by this UFO, and there's nothing anyone can do about it because you're completely exposed. And if I'm being honest, that was completely terrifying, isn't it? It just shows that they can come to Earth, leave at will whenever they like, and there's completely nothing we can do about it. Which it is quite funny when you hear the government talking about national security, if it's a UFO, if it's this or that. I mean, if it was a genuine UFO and all these other sightings are genuine UFOs, then what's the point stressing about it? What the hell does it matter whether it's national security or not? These things are so far um, in advance of us. There's nothing we could do. They could come down to Earth, wipe us out like that if they so wanted. The fact is they're probably just don't give a damn. We're just so insignificant. They don't even notice us. So, like we view ants, is how it seems to be. So, if there are UFOs, then what's the point stressing about it? There's not much we can do about it. But anyway, yeah. If you have any ideas what those experiences might have been, and you can shed some light on them, then feel free to leave a comment below.